wasn't making videos because I was sick as hell.
My God, bro.
Anyways, I will compare what's happening at the Mercedes F1 team to homicide. George Russell. Imagine George Russell would be living his dream if some random-ass teenager from Italy hadn't started ruining it for him. Imagine you, George Russell. You're driving one of the biggest, greatest, fastest F1 cars, and just as things are finally starting to get your way, boom. Kimi Antonelli. The guy who's been in F1 for literally one season and whose life is shorter than whole Fernando Alonso's career starts ruining your plans. And at the second hand, imagine you're Toto Wolff and you have two drivers who are hungry for the title. But you have the advantage because you've played these games before a few years ago with Nico Rosberg and Hamilton. And the latest example of this teamwork is Canada Grand Prix, which I will talk about in a moment. You know, sometimes I think it's not I'm gay, you know, in German I'm gay, but I'm gay. And I will talk about it later too. You know that shitty-ass argument on TikTok between BMW fans and Mercedes fans? That's crazy and cringe, you know? Mercedes is, was and will be like Paris after every match of PSG. No matter what the outcome of the game is, it will always cause absolute chaos everywhere, and what is left is a fucking lunar landscape, legit. So let's start from the beginning. It all began in the year 2022, aka 3 years before Kirk, when Toto Wolff signed George Russell from a tractor manufacturer named Aston Martin Williams. It's really good thought, you know. You take him under your wings, and Mercedes is at his beginning kinda good. But in 2023, tractor, absolute, slow, trash, done. Even Hamilton couldn't handle it, and that's saying something. So, you're surviving this German hell where even being purebred won't help you. And in 2022, it was kinda good season for George. A first car, first pole position, first win, everything was fantastic, battered in sunshine and rainbows and blah blah blah. He was so good that he even ended up ahead of Hamilton, but it's still just a bit short for becoming a champion. And 2023, the car looked like it could have actually delivered some results. But for George Russell, it was a total disaster full of mistakes and screw-ups. And let's be honest, black people are better at running and white people are better at shooting. 2024? No comment, I guess. You know, somewhere in the paddock, Hamilton got Matrix integration with the Ferrari crew and blue or red pill. Blue means staying at home in Mercedes, where you have loving family and loving dad, which is not something everyone has. Or red pill, go to Ferrari. The only thing that's waiting for you in Ferrari is fear, poverty, and disease. But you will have the best fan base in the entire motorsport, so it's giant risk, but kinda low to medium reward. So, which one would you take? Because Hamilton took red pill and decided that he will crack Kim Kardashian in the process as a bonus, because that's definitely not something that will ruin his entire credibility, eh? You know, imagine Hamilton in the paddock, house, I don't know, somewhere, announcing this plan, this love of his life, and you know, he's like that song, "Smile, why is everybody so serious?" Anyways, and yes, I know that Michael Schumacher made the similar move, but it was from Ferrari to Mercedes, okay? And you know how he ended up. And by the way, when I was on the toilet, I started to think that Roscoe knew what would happen to his owner, so he rather died. Or maybe Lewis is making stupid things out of sadness and desperation from his big loss. I have empathy, but trust me, bro, that's not the way to solve this. And plus, Kim K was in the Monaco Grand Prix paddock. I'm done, bros. I'm done. Let's move on to the next. Toto Wolff has to do something with his missing spot in his heart, in his team, and in his mind. And he had to figure out who to pair with George Russell. So, as I said earlier, he grabbed Kimi Raikkonen, the young Italian talent from Formula 2 who has the power to break the records. You know, Toto Wolff is a professional, but this can be a good combo, legit. A driver who is thirsty for a title and is expecting to be a number one driver, and the driver who is thirsty for breaking records. I smell the beginning of the Civil War, and I'm not from the USA. And at the beginning of this friendship, I don't know how to call it, George Russell is safe because Kimi is a rookie and he's getting used to everything. But later that 2025 season, it was obvious that Kimi is capable of blowing things up like George and like whole Mercedes. And that's what a Mercedes needs. And this season so far, I would call it a battlefield. Both drivers are racing, fighting and showing each other just because they have a dominant car with a supposedly illegal engine, but well, I don't know anything. Everything happened in Roblox. But that fighting in a team is normal, you know. Sometimes it's fine, and sometimes it's not. You know, Canada Grand Prix felt like Avengers Endgame fight. And George Russell? He's something like Tony Stark to young Peter Parker. He's scolding Verstappen for being angry, and right now he's more than the same as Max Verstappen, because whenever anything is not going his way, he lashes out with unnecessary anger. You know, Toto Wolff is lashing out too because, you know, George's angry face is something you don't want to see at night, let alone during the day, or that pure British English through the radio when he's constantly yapping about Kimi, Kimi and Kimi, and Kimi is constantly yapping about George, George and George. Toto must have had the size of a weather balloon from all of this, and I would hear their voices even in my fucking dreams. You know how I talked about homicide earlier? If this will go the way it goes now, it will be homicide and the crime scene will be in the Mercedes AMG motorhome with no survivors. And wait bro, niche reference? It will be like Murder in the Orient Express? Or just normal nightclub after Friday night, whatever. To be honest, I'm not even surprised by his behavior. You're in a team which dominated the sport for many years, and when you join them, suddenly the results will vanish faster than you're dead after that one afternoon, and your manufacturer makes cars that look like computer mice. I can understand that, and I'm surprised that George isn't schizophrenic and don't hear suspicious voices from his head. But after all, Kimi Antonelli is someone as strong as Russell, so we will have some interesting fights and maybe a title fight. Who knows? Nico Rosberg can definitely say something about rivalry in Mercedes, and trust me, no matter what generation you are, somehow always leads to an absolute crazy rivalry, which can be seriously the last thing you will ever encounter in your career or worse, in your life. But Nico Rosberg is a Chad, and he wiped his ass with Toto, Lewis and the whole Mercedes and left with drop P on the team's toilet. And that's whole single milestone which we won't forget. And that rivalry with Hamilton was kinda gay, changed my mind. And when I talked about the cars which AMG makes, I meant this piece of absolute joke. In this car everything is wrong. Interior, exterior, design, and 1 square kilometer of touch screens. If I had money, I wouldn't buy this car because, what do you mean it costs $240,000? And that's 220,000 euros. You know, I wouldn't have a problem with electric. I saw some concept model from Hyundai and it was kind of fun, so you can make a good car, but really. Mercedes, you can make Maybachs, AMG 1 and many other cars, and after all make this. Chat, you know the holy trinity of cars? I think it was LaFerrari, McLaren P1 and Porsche 918 Spider, I think. And this is unholy trinity, and it's that ugly ass Jaguar 00, which looks more like a soulless tank than an exclusive car, or maybe that ugly ass BMW E3. And this AMG maybe shares place with that ugly ass Ferrari Loose. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Legit. Imagine. You invite a person who designed smart flat phones to design a 3D car. Who the fuck can have an idea of this? And we're talking about Ferrari. I think Enzo Ferrari must rotate in his grave. And that I am gay? I think the ugliest taillights I have ever seen in my life. And it's bigger swag to drive around in Multipla because everyone will know that you have a W taste, but with that I am gay, simply everyone will think you have money that doesn't buy taste. Tell me your opinions, because my opinion is that I expect cars which don't have engine sounds to look good when it costs more than 2 houses. Anyways, comment, like, subscribe to my Yepslop because it helps so much to grow this community. Bye bye.